We have to start this one.
She makes this too.
So when you're out of state, it's so expensive too. My balloon's got like really high. 5,000 a ton.
I know my name.
Sorry, I missed it.
No, the fast is just, yeah. They were just doing that. I know, I used to do that.
Okay. I was in there blocking him. I brought him home.
Looking forward to it.
I have some copies of budgets if people don't have theirs.
It is.
Thanks, Ann.
Yeah, signed his contract, it was nice.
And I was in the room blocking him. I had the wrong select board meeting. I want to call it order, but I have the right meeting.
He's not going home till May. Which doesn't feel like from now to May, nothing. When is 2 years in already? I've got it on my computer, but
I'm just trying to get those working out. There we go. All right. It is 6 o'clock in Lee, New Hampshire on January 3rd. We are going to call the meeting to order. First, we'd like to start with any public comments limited to 3 minutes. Come on up, state your name, where you live, and share your thoughts. Any takers? All right, so we'll start first with the public hearing to accept unanticipated funds from the New Hampshire Department of Transportation. Do we need to discuss it or just read it? Hello, Steve. Come on up. Let's discuss it.
So these funds are from HB2, which for the past couple of years, they've been giving out extra highway block grants. Last year, we got 90 grand for the roads and then 70-something thousand for the bridges. This year's less, but still not an insignificant amount. So the bridge one, we're just kind of pocketing until we have enough money to do a new head wall on Old Mill Road.
Great.
Half of it was done years ago, and then we gotta do the other half. And then the road work one, we would put toward tree cutting this year, since last year we put everything toward paving. We got a lot of emerald ash borer trees that really need to come down that are starting to die.
Before they become dangerous. Great. Are there any questions? I move to accept 2 payments from the State of New Hampshire through the New Hampshire DOT in the amount of not to exceed $31,914.74 for maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of Class 4 and 5 highways, and the amount not to exceed $21,998.53 for maintenance, construction, and reconstruction of municipally owned bridges. Said funds to be deposited into the town's general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
You haven't asked the public.
Any discussion? I did. Anyone else?
As far as that, okay. But that was for public comment. This is now the hearing. You have to ask them.
Oh, fabulous. I apologize. So,
Probably formally open it for comment.
yeah, fabulous. Okay, so I'm formally opening it for comment, public comment from anyone. Great. Now, since there's no comment, how would you like me to proceed? We have a motion, it was seconded.
Now you can vote, but you
Discussion?
have to ask them.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. And do I close that particular public hearing? Okay, I'm closing that hearing. Now going to open the public hearing to accept unanticipated funds from the New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety. Hello.
Hello.
We had already been awarded a grant for $10,400 from Highway Safety for grant patrols, speed and DUI patrols and whatnot. And then I had applied for a grant that came up to replace the computers in our cars. We currently use Panasonic Toughbooks. We've been using those for 15, 20 years now. They're extremely expensive to replace and they're cumbersome in the cruiser. So this grant will allow us to replace outfit all the cars with a tablet, keyboard, and a printer all in one location. Right now, the printer is on the headrest. So if you're training somebody, they don't have a headrest. And then they can take the tablet into a call with them, or if they've started the report in the car, they can actually bring it back into the station, put it into a docking station, and continue on.
That's great. Okay.
Fantastic.
I'm opening it up to public comment. Anyone? Great. Now I will move to accept an additional payment from the State of New Hampshire Office of Highway Safety in the amount not to exceed $27,823.86 for e-crash equipment. Said funds to be deposited into the town's general fund.
Second.
Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so moved. I am now closing that portion of the hearing. Okay. I got a pen. Second page needs initials. Today is the 3rd, right?
Yes.
24th, and that's my first time reading it. How exciting. I'm just writing the subrecipient. Actually, like 2 screens. 3 times the length of the note.
You can add a line for someone else, you can just have to decide whichever.
Okay, you can outline or sign or not sign, whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, that is your title here.
No, there's no left.
So the last 2 public hearings have been closed. We're now opening up the public budget, try that again, budget public hearing. We're going to review proposal of fiscal year 25 budget, draft warrants, and default budgets.
How would you like the projected budget to show? I can do the actual proposal that you've been looking at in the worksheet, or I can stay in the working section of the budget that it's in now, so we can, if you've got changes ready to go, you can plug those in.
That is entirely up to anyone who has an opinion. I think it's great to be able to plug things in. Maybe start here, and then is it hard to move around if we have to?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll find out.
Okay. All right. What do I have here? Boy, I feel like a, oh, that's great, right, that's what I'm doing. Did I miss it? I have my tomorrow. I'm so sorry. That's so strange. I wonder what I have. Okay. I have it like all planned out, so the color line can do that. Okay, well, that's good. Get some information for tomorrow's meeting. Okay, so where would you like to start on this budget?
Why don't you pull up what Dave got? Probably can follow along.
What Dave got? Who's Dave?
Yeah, I can do that. I can't change the lines interactively in that portion.
Okay. So we'll pull that up first. That's what we're looking for, suggestions. Have there been updates to the one that was linked to the select board agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
The ones I sent this afternoon had some small changes, they're not. It'll just take a second for that to pop up because of my aging laptop.
Yes, my bones understand what you're talking about.
It does go faster than this.
3%. Well, why don't we not wait for magic to happen behind us? Why don't we start talking about numbers that we all have the paper from us? What are some thoughts? You guys gone through and looked at some things you are?
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, get started.
Start with
Whatever you'd like to start with.
get some opinions.
Fabulous. Why don't we start by bringing up any opinions from the audience you'd like to share first? If there's anything on this budget so far, which is not at all final, just being worked on, come on up and share. I think we'll probably have to start digging in before people have comments.
No particular comments.
Right. I think it's, once we start making decisions, then they'll start.
One thing, maybe we can preface with, the thing you're seeing in the column for the BOS is with no increases for salaries. There's going to be a separate spreadsheet that the board's going to go through in terms of allocating those for a cost of living and also for any other increases. So if you notice that some departments asked for increases in salaries and some didn't. So we asked the town administrator to take those out, and we're going to deal with those in a separate spreadsheet. In terms of big changes, couple of things on page, hold on.
Just while you're looking at it, the ABC committee has an increase of the 3%. You said that, is that correct? Correct. So when you see the salaries, that's just a straight increase.
Yeah, the ABC line has across the board 3% COLA on salaries with an additional 9% for fire department personnel.
All right, what page do you want?
I'm trying to find the page.
We would love to help you. Do you want to?
I'm going to talk about the ambulance.
Okay, great. Let's do that.
One of the things that you might notice, if I can find
Page
it.
7 of 14.
There we go. On page 7, it's near the bottom. One of the things that, at least I was taken aback by a little bit, but last year we spent $31,000 for the ambulance, for the Durham ambulance. Just like the town's experience in terms of salary increases, they've experienced it really, 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 really bad. They're up about $60,000, so it's about tripled the amount of money that they're requesting. Part of that is paramedics are becoming very expensive and very hard to get. So they've had to spend an extremely large amount of money. So they're not necessarily asking for a new ambulance or anything like that, as most of they cover most of the operating costs. So that was kind of at least an eye-opener for me. I knew it would go up some, but that was a lot, so. Question.
One quick note too, the default budget has been approved, and I entered in the long-term contracts. We have the ambulance contract, for example. I included that increase in the default budget, and I was expecting a fight from DRA, but lo and behold, they approved the default budget as is and gave me the final version. You have to write an explanation and why you're leaving it in, but
I
I'm
was
increasing it.
going to have a fight with you about that too, but I want it taken out.
Okay.
That is not something that we're obligated to do. So I would propose that that gets removed.
We can do it. There are two other lines that are of the same question, the insurance line, the health insurance line. These are long-term contracts that renew annually.
Yep.
And change.
Pension.
Yeah, that should look good.
I think
The
if
other
we're
one-
suggesting the ambulance going forward either way, though, then that doesn't make sense to remove it from the default. It's only if we're
We don't
not-
necessarily have to give them everything they're asking for either. It's not an obligation that we have. There is no contract. It's a request they're
So shouldn't
making.
we decide if we're gonna have that in our budget or not, and then have them on?
Well,
I believe we have a long-term contract with the ambulance company that I'm assuming the town voted on at some point.
but
to
not
join.
at that particular rate. There's no rate information in there. Well, I propose to take it out. And if the other two ladies want to keep it in, that's their choice.
Well, either way, I can, before the next meeting, I can call DRA's attention to it and get a definitive opinion from them as to whether it should stay or go. That might be the,
Do you have any strong feelings?
About leaving it into the default budget?
Yeah. Do you want to discuss if we should leave it in our budget? I think that's more relevant, yeah.
I don't have any problem leaving it in our budget. I don't think it belongs in the default budget.
Okay.
We can find any other solutions, because, yeah, I know you were looking into for other
I-
choices.
I did not. It were readily available that would provide the same level of service and the same proximity.
My concern would be that if we go to the default budget for some horribly sad reason, that we wouldn't have the level of service that we need, and that is concerning,
Well,
so.
we don't live in Deerfield, so we've never had a default budget. Just so you know, there's a little bit, if Andy wants to talk about it, he can talk about it, but
They really dislike the selectmen in Deerfield.
how many years in a row have they come to the default? It's like,
I think it's been 11 now, 10 or 11.
It's become a habit.
Don't drive on our back roads.
so, I don't know if there's other things, and just in terms of highlights, the election registrations is up because we have more elections, primaries and things like that. Town clerk, tax collector, kind of the same. Financial administration,
One thing I did change in financial administration, that's probably not on the hard copy you have, Scott, is the postage machine. I put it under new equipment and took it out of the postage line.
right? Property revaluation is about the same, legal expenses is about the same. Personnel is going to be up significantly. So that's in relation to health insurance and also the retirement plans. Planning and zoning is basically the same, Karen is very good. Oh, everything's back, I shouldn't have said that.
Now she knows.
Now she knows.
Yeah.
Government buildings, Steve's having to spend more money in terms of supporting the buildings, keep them up to date. Cemeteries is basically the same. Insurance is up a little bit, well, yeah, it's up just a little bit. Let's see, public safety, the police department. It's up just a little bit, the chief's been very good. The chief is still down, you're still down 2, right? Dispatch is up a little bit. Ambulance we already talked about. Fire department. Chief's asked for some salary increases for his staff, so that's one of the things we'll cover on the other worksheet.
Just for those
Yep.
outside of the board, I know the select board is aware, but I don't know that the budget committee is. There is a significant reduction in the full-time firefighter salary line, just due to a miscalculation. So if you look at that, that's on order of a little over $100,000 less than the request was during the budget cycle, so. Movement in the right direction.
Yeah, thanks, much nicer. All right.
Indeed, 306, the correct number, that's the fixed number is 303, I can read.
To the best of my calculation, that was, yes.
Okay. Oh, 304, sorry. I'm looking at
That was the request, and I had to back the number out and then back the total percentage, so.
Building inspection, the same. Emergency management is basically the same. highway department. Highway department is up. Most of it is in paving and stuff.
One of the reasons the highway budget is up, and I know several of you are aware, there were part-time assistant wages that were not added into the budget last year during the budget cycle. They were added to the ABC budget, they were not added to the select board budget line. Despite the fact that I showed a slide at deliberative session and spoke about the addition of the funding.
The number just didn't make its way where it needs to be. Which is why we have this wonderful program we're going to be working on today. All right, so I think what we can do is we can move on over to the actual looking at the numbers. That's okay with you? Okay.
The other thing that's, at least to bring to people's attention, because it hasn't been split out yet, is the library. The library is showing a significant decrease, but the issue is that ancillary expenses are not in there, they haven't been broken out yet. So,
And they were just, there was a decrease instead of an increase with that, where it's going to be adjusted in this sheet,
Yeah.
right?
I think in terms of people recommending from last year, I think the biggest change has been salary increases for people. It's been extremely hard to compete because everybody's offering salaries because they can't get staff. So we're trying to keep the staff that we have because we appreciate what they've done so far. But it's been kind of trying for the board in terms of keeping up with that, so.
One of the things we have to think about too is that keeping somebody on and then losing them because of the salary being low, we're not gonna get somebody else back at that low salary. We're gonna have to pay that higher salary. So pay the person that has the experience, that's been in lead, that's worked with us, that knows us, that has done all that work. Pay them what you'd pay that new person so that they stay and they don't feel that they need to go. I think that's really, really important. There's a lot of knowledge that we have, and it takes a lot of money to train a new person, and there's a lot of bumps in the way. So we want to be aware that salaries need to be competitive for everyone and not just to take advantage of the fact that, oh, that person's been here forever, they're not going to go anywhere. That's not always true. So.
The other thing the board's aware of, the fact that the tax rate went up 8.7%. So at least I'm, and I believe the other two ladies are as well, sensitive to that fact.
100%.
So that's something we keep, at least I keep in the back of my mind. So.
One of the things that's really impressive is seeing how many grants we've been able to get in this town, how much money we were able to get from the state, from the federal government, from other places, so that we aren't paying for all those things ourselves. That's really increased our services, increased the newness and the workability of the things that we own, and I think that's a huge thing we want to keep doing going forward. But it does take someone like in the highway department, having someone who's an assistant who can actually fill out those grants to do that work. So sometimes you have to pay a little bit here so you can get all that money on the other side. All right.
I don't know if anybody has any comments. If not, we can go to the warrant articles.
Well, I think I'd have a couple comments. There's a few salaries that I just think, along with a 3% budget of the ABC committee, are just kind of grossly underpaid when I go through what their skill level is, what it would cost to have a policeman and what other towns are paying. The first one would be our town clerk tax collector. Even with that 3% increase, she's still well below the salary, especially considering the skill and how much the changes she's brought have already saved the taxpayers. I think putting that at a $65,000 level makes more sense than the 60. That is on page 1, the election registration of vital statistics. We have been able to really become incredibly efficient and save money and also increase revenue. And I think that when you look through the salaries, around the area. The 65,000 would bring that up to a more competitive wage.
You heard others?
I do. Do you want me to keep going? I only have a
Do
few.
you want me to change these as you suggested?
I don't know. Do you want to step it?
List out.
Okay. Where do you want to list out so that Andy knows what to do?
Really, we should use that other spreadsheet when we do that, but
The one, he has to put it somewhere.
Yeah, I can't adjust that other spreadsheet on the screen. I have to go to the back.
There's an extra file of like ideas, or is there, or could we adjust, I guess with BOS, we can.
I can write it beside these and then,
let's
Okay, let's do
do
that.
old school.
Old school handwriting for now, so put that to 75,000. And then our,
75, what is 75?
65, sorry. I got really excited. Not that she's not worth every penny. Okay, so the other one was our planning and zoning, who has to do a great deal of work, and the numbers have not remained any, there's been no request for additional payment. So I would just suggest instead of the 72, that we go to the 75 for administrator. Just to, as you align with more with the planning and local areas. And then the last one was just a concern I had around library salaries. They have not risen at the same rate as everyone else, and just wanting to make sure that those are in line and competitive with other libraries. I think anyone would notice our library is thriving right now, really successful in a way that I haven't seen in a while, and that takes an incredible amount of work and attention, and just want to make sure we're thinking about those salaries, making sure that they're fair in relation to the rest of the town. How about you guys? Go ahead.
Well, that is the realm of the trustees of the library, not our realm.
I understand. I also know that sometimes it's hard to ask us for anything because we are so challenging. So I just want to open up that conversation, because I do think it's a challenge to ask for more, but I am looking at the salaries and just thinking about the work that goes in and the hours and the challenges, and just wanting to make sure that we're thinking about that budget.
Well, you can definitely convey that to the trustees.
Conveying that to the
Kind of
trustees.
right there, so.
Yeah. Opening the door. If anyone wants to share thoughts.
Okay.
It's very hard to be the person that the salary is for to come up and talk. I understand that. That's why it's a challenging topic.
I guess, Haley, my projector, hi. It is hard to ask, and historically, I mean, we've had the same staff for many years, and they're very easily pleased. And, you know, when they get the 3% COLA or 2%, they're happy. And I feel that I want the staff to be paid fairly, obviously. And the last couple of years I've tried to ask, for example, last year I asked for youth services full-time, which put a lot of pressure, I feel, on the town. It was a lot of money to spend. And we were supported that year, and that was amazing. And the library, like you say, is thriving at the moment. Some of our staff definitely need more money. And I feel like I'm trying to fight for specific things every year so as not to put too much pressure on the town in one go. For example, we have a tech 1 position, she's been there 3 years and her salary is ridiculous. It's so low, but she's also more inexperienced than the other people on the team. And for me at this time, having more hours for people in the library, I asked for more hours for our Tech 2 position. I asked for more sub-hours. So for me, it's trying to find a balance between not asking for too much and what the library needs.
Right.
And when we were all asked to reduce our budgets and look where we can cut, it's really hard to make those decisions and try and keep it as low as we can for the town, but also try and get the best for the library. And we have a very flexible team, and I would obviously love it if everybody got paid more, but we also have to be respectful of the town needs too.
Of course.
And for us this year, we are thriving so much, we need more hours. And so it's kind of like, do we ask for more hours or do we ask more money for the people and then just work even harder? So it's kind of, we're trying to make a compromise, we're trying to make a balance, but I 100% agree. The team should be paid more, we are not in comparison with everybody else, but little bits make a big difference.
Thank you.
So I,
And just be aware, this is the first of three. So if the trustees want to go back, have a conversation, and then propose something else, that's perfectly fine. So,
thank you.
yeah, so, oh, Annie and I are thinking the same thing. But yeah, we've got two more, the next one's the 8th and then the 16th.
Yes.
So just be aware of that, so.
16th?
It's a Tuesday.
16th of January.
8th and the 16th.
All right. So we'll leave that discussion for next time.
What happened with the 250th commission? Did they not submit anything?
Yeah, we asked for 5,000.
Oh, well, it's not on.
Yeah, there's,
It's in here someplace.
Well, I think it's page 13, where it says 250th.
Oh,
That would be the really
It's
good
all
place to put
zeros.
that. Yeah.
And weren't they gonna bring us like what they were gonna do with their 5,000?
Yep.
yeah, they asked for 5,000.
But we asked for them to tell us what they need 5,000 for.
Yeah, they haven't met since we asked. So,
Are they gonna meet?
put it in as a placeholder, or?
When are you meeting next?
I do not know off the top of my head.
So it won't be, maybe before.
It'll be sometime in January, but I don't remember when it is.
Okay.
It's actually Heritage-250, and you didn't really find it looking up Patriot. This screen is
What
probably
page is it?
Oh,
It's the 13th page right bottom.
13 page. Yep.
yeah, I thought the ABC stuck it in. So,
Nope.
I have the lines.
So more information. And also we were gonna look into what kind of grants were available, what the,
what the state was doing,
Yeah.
and there's national stuff too, so.
and also thinking about how many events, are we gonna have one big one and lots of little things?
Yeah, there's a list of things that they want to do. Their focus, as far as I can remember, in 2024 is Native Americans. So they're looking at powwows, they're looking at native craft demonstrations and things like that. 2025 is based on the colonial period.
Okay.
And then 2026, as far as I can remember in terms of that, there's a parade and they're talking about a gala. I'm not sure what exactly the gala will take place in what form, but the parade is a part of it, so.
All right.
I don't believe the Heritage Commission's meeting again before the 16th.
No, we did the 250th committee, you're asking,
Yeah.
Really?
because I don't think.
So we know what the 5,000 is for.
I don't think they've said anything. I thought Sandy did something, but
Are other committees getting funding from the select board and the town, or are they getting funding from fundraising? And do you know, another committee, like throughout all the other towns, are they all asking for money from
I do not.
taxes, or are they raising money?
I do not. They did do a call to local towns to find out what they were doing.
Okay.
There was no, I don't believe they talked about how much, where their source of funds was.
Just want to be in line with communities around us as well.
Isn't there one in the 250?
Might be January 11th.
Oh,
There
great.
you go.
Maybe they can get that information to us after that,
Yep.
before the 16th. It's a small item, so I'm sure we could discuss it on that very busy night. All right, so I'm feeling like the ambulance is something we want to clear up sometime soon.
I'm in favor of leaving it in the budget, but I don't think it should be the default.
Okay,
I can agree with that.
great, we'll agree with that. I do think it should be in the default, just because I do think it's an important service, and I'd like to do that.
But I don't know if isn't the default just what we were already agreed to pay?
But that's what Andy said, is that because of the contract, we could leave it in there.
If you have items that you're contracted for in long-term contracts, particularly if they've been voted on by warrant article, you're typically allowed to include those in the default going forward. I can get an opinion from DRA as to whether they would consider the.
I don't see any contract. If there's a contract, why are we looking for other services? You'd be locked into them or not. We want to go with somebody else, we can. There's nothing that says, you know, you have to use those particular people, which they're great. But there's no contract as far as I know. I've been here, what, 14 years?
I just hated that amount of money and have tried to find any other solution and have not been successful, so I don't know what else we would do.
Well, I think in terms of what traditionally the select board have been very good in terms of promoting a budget to the townspeople that's reasonable. I don't think we're asking anything unreasonable, so I don't see anybody saying, hey, you know, don't pull the ambulance because they're crappy, they're no good, they're always too late. They're not. They're excellent service for what we pay, so.
I think what you'll find with some of the surrounding ambulance services is they don't roll with paramedics necessarily. Some do, some don't, but a lot of them, the paramedics come in a separate vehicle with some other communities if they're needed. And in a rural community, that might add 20 minutes.
Yeah. In terms of, one of the members of the ABC is a physician, and he said sometimes the difference of life and death because a paramedic can apply, you know, different drugs and stuff where a regular, you know, EMT cannot. And sometimes that's the difference between somebody having a good experience and somebody not making it, so.
I think the question is, if we didn't pay that, could they say that they don't want to work with us going forward? And then, is there any ambulance anywhere that if we were on the default budget, they decided not to work with us, that we could pay for $30,000? And I think the answer is no on that. So I think my concern is what happens if something, like, if the whole point of the default budget is what happens, and now we don't have the
That's-
funding.
As far as I know, it's not the criteria for the default budget.
So, what if they said, we're not accepting 30,000? Can they do that, or would they have to continue serving us?
I have not read the specifics of the agreement. I don't know if there's a guarantee of service the fire chief may.
Okay. Sorry, Scott.
In the past, we have signed a contract with McGregor. I think it's one of the contracts I'd have to bring up, but I think it renews on its own. We signed it a couple of years ago.
But there's nothing in there that states in terms of how much we're paying them.
Correct. Yep,
So,
that's correct. But I think if we break contract with them, each party has to give each other a year about, I have to look at that.
All right. Are there any other places that we can cut? It's always so easy.
Got at least two more things to decide.
I know, but I don't want to like sit here and waste this very precious time we have, so we're scrambling in us all night on the 16th because we haven't done the work we have to do now. I have not gone through this budget and seen like, oh, here's a ton of extra money being wasted. I know that the salary increases are shocking. I also know what it's like to try to hire people. Our town is really lucky to be staffed as well as we are, and I'm very concerned about not maintaining the staffing we need to be a well-run town.
well, at least for me, there's nothing here that's glaring. the thing is, I think we need to go through the warrant articles as well. And I think before we decide anything on the warrant articles, I think we need to go through the financial planning tool because there's been some major changes specifically in the highway department
Okay,
to determine what we need to put in those particular funds in terms of deposits going forward.
great.
I think until we figure that out, I don't think focusing on this
Okay,
is going to be productive until we know how much those particular numbers are.
I'll pull up the warrant, and that warrant is, I didn't have hard and fast numbers for any of it, and the $800,000 on the second or third page was a typo.
oh, good. That was gonna be some really impressive radio infrastructure. But, sorry, no more.
The estimate was 80,000, and I
It's a little more small.
got an extra zero in there.
We only want that when we find money to have extra zeros, but not to spend extra zeros. Okay, so, starting with the town office building, the warrant article of 1.7 million. That seems to be around the area we're looking at.
Go ahead.
Good. Well, I was just gonna say that we also do have currently, isn't it $500,000 that's available to use in town office buildings?
Mr. Tappan gave us a sheet.
The question is, do you spend the money you already have when bonds are high but interest is high? How do you make that work, knowing that there's more buildings to work on?
High bonds, because the number 3, I think, is the last one. Where's that sheet? She's asking about the town office building.
That's the number one.
613,527 as of December 31st.
Because the other thing is in terms of what's been expended, or what's anticipated to be expended, and also what's planned to be anticipated. So that's what the financial planning tool will walk us through in terms of
Right.
how much we could use out of that particular fund to fund some of this.
So, are we gonna do that? Are we looking into making that entire thing a bond, or are we looking at paying for some of it upfront and then?
I would propose that we, whatever we can take out of that particular fund
I agree.
and do it that way. The other thing I'd like to ask Tammy to do, the last time we did this in 2002, I think it was, and we got caught with our pants down because the bond that we issued, the language did not include the language that said you can spend the interest. So we had to come back the second year and request to have the ability to expend the interest. So if we can get the language that has to be added to number 2, so that that can occur, there's no sense wasting everybody's time to come back the next year and do the same thing. So yeah, put that in there.
And I'll have, certainly I would have a conversation probably with Steve Whitley, who's a bond attorney specifically, to make sure that we're not missing
Okay,
things like that.
okay.
All right. So we're gonna look into that a little more deeply when we're looking at things. Great, okay.
And the other thing is just so, and some people have heard this and some people haven't. Barrington did kind of the same thing. They went for an office building and also requested from the congressional delegation, there's a fund that you can apply to. So at least my intention would be that if this passes, go ahead and apply for those particular funds.
Mhm.
So the language that is in here is up to, but not more than 1.7 million.
Yep.
They requested $500,000, they got $1.5 million.
Yes.
So not that we would,
That's not
be that
happening.
lucky,
Right.
but the thing is, it might not be the 1.7 million, it might be a lot less, might be a little bit less. But we go to find to see if we can get other places to pay for that particular thing.
I just think if we're standing here talking about what we're asking the community to come up with as far as money, we first want to figure out how to use what we've been saving for.
Right.
Then we can figure out, of course, what do we need to ask for? And then, yeah, take every penny off of that we can.
And I can amend this draft to include
Yeah.
some explanatory notes underneath
Great.
what we have in the fund
Yeah.
and other things we're
And
considering.
there'll be grants available for efficiencies and other things we want to make sure we're looking into. So that's just maybe the max amount that we would ask for. All right, the operating budget we're gonna work on. So the next one has 0, but I think the warrant is for 200, right, the library?
Last year was a $200,000 deposit, yes.
Okay, so, and this is to see if they'll raise and appropriate the sum of 200,000 for the library capital
Is
reserve.
it the trustees, is that what they're asking for this year?
Oh, I thought that they had, that's what it's, oh, I see, you're saying that that's the wording from last year. That was the same amount that you asked us for.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is that the amount you want to use
For the,
going forward for this year?
Yes.
I think that's what, yeah, I thought that's what they said when they came to us. Okay. On to number 5, fire equipment capital reserve fund. When you look at the financial planning tool, the 175,000 makes sense when it comes to making sure we are ready for the fire truck run.
Can we pull up the financial planning tool? Yeah, ability? No, but you want me to say no.
I can't get a live one, no, I can try to
To
pull
look
a
at
static one,
Static one sounds good. That's better than dead.
maybe, let's see here.
Well, with that in mind, I think we need to schedule a time where we go through the financial planning
Oh
tool.
my gosh, and what free time between now and the 16th?
Oh, well, tons of free time, tons of free time. But we should set up a time just to do that, because that is a discussion all by itself, so.
So we have a meeting on the 8th and on the 16th, actually that.
Meeting on the 8th is at 6 o'clock, correct?
Mhm.
Could we eat a little bit earlier on the 6th, on the 8th, excuse me?
I could you?
What's your schedule?
Change the schedule.
Do 5.
And
Sorry.
also to see if Mr. Tappan is available too, I don't know.
Yes.
You could do that?
Are you looking, Rebecca?
Looking, I'm gonna find my texting and
Got
text
it.
that person I'm married to.
Okay, you check. We'll work on the next thing while we're.
Denise is telling me that the static version that we have on the website is fairly old and has not been. so-
Do we have an updated one that we can share with Mr. Tappan?
Mr. Tappan
What you have right now in the FPT for fire equipment says that you need $275,000
For all the different equipment?
this year and next year and the year after and the year after. And that amount is up because last year you overrode the recommendation and chose to do just 175,000.
Okay. Just 175,000, that's really horrifying. So maybe this is one of those times we really think about banding with another town and sharing the expenses for one fire truck.
That's another thing, just to let people know, what the board's talked about too. One of the things, if you take a look at, revenue for the town is kind of, I don't want to say stagnant, but it's not rising as much as expenses. So one of the things that the board has talked about, we've instructed the town administrator to initiate it, is a conversation with other towns to see if there's something we can do in combination with that particular town. One of the ones we talked about is doing it with Madbury. Either trash, transfer station, excuse me, we don't have a trash. I have to watch out.
Solid waste.
I remember Joe
There you
Ford
go.
says, we do not have a dump, we have a transfer station. But also police, fire, possibly other things, maybe buying
Highway.
stuff together, stuff like that. But that would at least do something in terms of increasing our revenue, but our revenue is kind of not progressing like expenses are. So I'm trying to do something about that particular thing, so.
In a lot of communities in the south, which are much farther apart, there are county-wide things. So instead of one town paying for every single thing, the next town paying for every single thing, you have counties, they work together. And I think that as we're going forward and we're looking at increasing expenses and having multi-million-dollar fire trucks and things like that, and then the staffing challenges we have, all of it is speaking to the same idea of maybe it's time to work together with some more communities and figure out how to not all have the most expensive thing in every single town.
The town of Madbury is taking up consideration of the request on Friday morning.
Great, that's fabulous, thank you. And there are other communities as well, there's Barrington, there's of course Durham, there's Newmarket and North. Nottingham, I'm trying to remember which N is next to us.
Nottingham.
Nottingham, thank you. I'm having a moment. Right, so, great.
Can Joe do?
Yes, 5 o'clock is my next Monday.
Yay, Joe.
This is hard.
One
So,
less evening
Can
away.
you post something for January 8th at 5 o'clock? From 5 to 6, we will do the financial planning tool. You're okay with that, Mr. Town?
I think someone's gonna need to bring snacks.
I'm looking at this.
No, we want cupcakes. We want cupcakes. I think it is.
Do you have important things you
I
got
know, I need to
anything
do
right
it
now?
someplace right now.
Yeah, sorry to bother you. All right. So that fire equipment capital reserve number, we will have to look for at the 5 o'clock FBT meeting before, and then we'll be discussing it at the select board public meeting after. Great, town buildings capital reserve fund, is that something that we need to have a separate warrant for when we're literally talking about using the money from that? Because that seems a little double pocketed, yes, no?
Something to consider.
Like if we're gonna cut anything, that's the one that makes sense because we're asking for a bond, which is the biggest way you can ask for that money, yeah. My recommendation would be to remove it this year. Highway Department Road and Bridge Capital Improvement Plan, last year was 90,000, is that still the request we have this year?
Financial planning tool again.
I don't know.
All these are gonna be financial
Doesn't he
planning.
have a request? No, you don't have a specific, okay. All right. So what are we doing tonight?
We'll talk about number 9. Number 9 is when Steve and his department have come up with a super duper plan. It's part of the, what was it, the Volvo? No, not Volvo. Volkswagen money, right?
Yeah, so Volkswagen got fined a lot of money nationwide for lying about their diesel emissions on their cars. It's Volkswagen, not Volvo.
Yeah.
So there's funds that have been going on in this state for years now, and we applied for a grant. Well, Julia applied for a grant to replace 2 dump trucks in the highway department. And the grant would pay 80% of the price of a new truck. So we got the conditional approval for $371,000, so our 20% match for the trucks would be 91. So we'll get 2 brand new dump trucks with everything on it, plows, wings, everything ready to go for 90 grand.
Which will change in the financial planning tool what we're saving for. So,
Yes,
Dramatically.
dramatic.
You know, drop, it's.
yeah, instead of a new truck in 10 years or whatever it is with all that interest and inflation on it, it lowers it.
And this is thanks to your assistant.
Yeah,
So the salary that we pay her isn't even close to what she's getting us in terms of grants.
No.
So the town benefited quite well. So Steve and his department should be congratulated for.
Almost $1 million in grants this year, is that right? Pretty
Mhm.
impressive. A lot of money we didn't have to.
725,000, something like that.
And then if you add this,
No, that is with this.
okay. All right, so, is that money that we have already saved and we're just asking to spend, or is that money that we want to raise to match that because it's coming out of future?
Something to look at in terms of what we need to put in to,
I think
because he
if
has
we-
other needs besides.
Yeah, but the deposit might drop once those get taken off the list for down the road.
Right. That's great. Anytime you can get something for 80% off and it's not bad quality, it's a pretty great thing. All right. Do we need to sign anything for that? Can we discuss that? Is that later on?
Yes, and I'm going to bring that up under miscellaneous. I don't need it to be signed tonight, but I do need the board to appoint a signatory. And I think I had emailed earlier about the possibility of naming Katrin as the chair to be the signatory, and in hindsight, after I read through those documents, it looks like it's going to be some time
After I'm no
before
longer
we're
here.
completed, and you're
Yeah.
going to be gone, so
We just make it the chair, we have to have a name, a person's name.
they want you to name a specific authorized signatory for the form.
So we could ask Rebecca possibly.
Mr. Bowden.
Sounds great.
It's you getting ready.
I have that under miscellaneous coming up. so-
Fabulous. I just want to see the trucks when they come in, I'm super excited. All right.
Number 10,
Yep,
number 10 is, they put in 20,000, but our liability according to Andy is 175,000.
where are you, what list are you?
The number 10 warrant
Oh,
article. Oh, it's a number 11 now.
Oh, it's the number 11?
Yeah, I was like, these
I
numbers
put
keep being
in,
off.
I put in 2 placeholders.
Okay.
This one left.
Stuff in it.
The radio infrastructure.
And I added at the end, the Energy Commission's solar panel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm just going by the one that was,
With the agenda.
well, whatever one accrued benefits is, the liability as of the 19th of December was 175,000. So,
And how much do we have in there already?
not very much, 6,000 something?
All that numbers went down after last year.
Let's see, accrued benefits.
It's
Well,
28,292.
but what has to be taken out? There's some more to be taken out, people have left, so.
There is nothing very significant, since last year was a tough year with the swap over of the town clerk.
Yeah, that was our biggest.
Yeah.
Sorry. So what's the actual number that we need to have now?
I don't know what we would actually need right now.
Right.
We've had, a little bit of movement in the fire department, but they were primarily young folks who have not been around for a long time. I think the thing that's gonna drive this year, next year, or whatever, is when the police chief might decide to retire.
Okay.
He will be eligible for that. I believe this
Right now.
March or April, right now. So, he's certainly a long-term employee, who's gonna bring you some expense in regard to that. And you may have, I think, when DPW presented their budget, there was 1 or 2 positions mentioned that
Okay.
might be considering.
So maybe we look at all those numbers, make sure we have what we need for whenever those years happen. Okay, the good old fire ponds and cisterns. That's another FPT, because we don't know. Do we still have the fire department? How's the Elder Osborne cistern going?
So we're going.
Still leaks, yeah, I know. All right, makes a really fun pond, so it's okay. All right, the contingency fund. That's just unanticipated expenses. Have we found ourselves using more than the requested 20,000? We could have used it last year, I know, but generally speaking, no.
I think next year, so.
Everything costs more, so do we have to change it, or are we good with that?
It comes out of the unassigned fund balance anyway, so it's not really going to affect the tax rate. So,
So would it make more sense to have a bigger buffer, or do people see that as money coming from their taxes and?
You're looking at probably somewhere between 1.5 and 2 cents on the tax rate with a $20,000.
It doesn't
Yeah, but-
actually, it
It
doesn't.
comes out of the unassigned fund balance, so there's no impact to the tax rate.
Right, yeah, but
If
you
they're
can't,
looking at it, right?
you can't
Next
use
year.
it to offset, if you use the equivalent of that to offset the tax rate, if that's what it
So if there was a
requires.
real crisis, we would have to request to use our unassigned fund balance. So this is really,
100,000
right, so this is really just small contingencies we just haven't thought of.
things that happen.
All right, so I'm happy with keeping it where it is. How about you guys? Yeah. Great, look at that one done. Yes. Really just moving right along. Reevaluation capital reserve fund, I think that like the last year might be a little bit more than this, but I think overall, we'll look at FBT, but I think that's a reasonable amount, 10,000.
That's 2027?
27, I believe, because you just completed it
Yes.
when I came out in 22.
The other thing we have to remember, put it in your particular there, that if we do the reevaluation fund, we need to also consider changing the exemptions, the elderly exemptions, so we don't get caught with that again, so.
Okay. So are we happy with staying with the 10? Are we gonna FBT this?
I think, well, it's an FBT thing, but I think the 10 was,
Reasonable?
because I don't think anything's changed.
Mr. Tappan, do you have a thought before we allow myself to think we're done with 2?
Right now, the FPT says 10,361,
Great.
and that's based on the estimate from 2022 as to what it's gonna cost,
Great.
with escalation in 2027.
So we could ask for like 12,000 the last year before we know more about money. Great. I say that's 2 done. Yes. All right. So now the solar panels, one of the things we discussed when we purchased, did you have another comment?
No.
Okay. One of the things we did when we got the PPA for solar panels, we discussed the ability to purchase them outright. I think it was it 5 or 6 years from when we installed them, just this year?
Something like that. I didn't bring the exact,
So
I
the,
didn't have an exact figure.
the question will be, does it save us more money to purchase those outright? Or does it make more sense to invest in more solar purchased outright? There is so much funding right now. If you used a brownfield, you could get 40% back on the price of solar. My suggestion would be not to make the solar panels only to the transfer station, but to have a capital reserve fund for the purchase of either those solar panels or solar. So wording it in a way that would allow us to purchase solar going forward in the future.
I was assuming that, I just said I put this in as a placeholder, I was assuming that the Energy Commission might have.
They've been trying to work on
They
it.
wanted to
Yeah.
bring forward.
So I think that they're meeting and then will let us know a number, but does anyone happen to have that? I'm trying to remember the number of what the buyout was.
I have it in the contract and can certainly bring it.
So let's bring it to the next one, discuss that, and then just make the wording so that we're not tied in, because it might end up being that that is a good deal and helpful, but buying, putting solar on the new town municipal building or something else is more cost effective.
When does the Energy Commission meet? Can they get us something before the 16th?
I know that we can get one individual, they can't meet together maybe, but they could have one individual who could go through the paperwork and put that together, or they could hold a someone meeting. I don't have the date of that meeting because I'm not able to.
We'll contact the chairperson tomorrow.
Perfect.
See what we can do about.
Yeah, and then find the
furthering
wording.
language.
I do think Clean Energy has wording for more general solar in the future, and then we can explain it's either for one or the other, depending on the best benefit to the community.
Can you go back to the radio?
Absolutely. The $800,000 radio or just the $80,000?
I don't know, whichever one that you want to.
I'd like the $80,000.
Can the chief talk to us? I think he spoke to us a little bit about this, but I don't know if there's any new information that you want to share with us, or?
Right now, that's just gonna be a placeholder. I have a quote from a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm reaching back out to the company because I want to check on a couple of things. One of that was we were looking at the tower site across from the Speedway. But with that, also determines if we can use their building, their backup generator. So there's different costs that we're looking at. So I'm trying to get a hold of the company and really figure out a cost. But the previous cost that we had was $67,000, not $800,000. So.
Could you tell people why you want to do this, not other than just you like big towers and stuff?
So we use UNH Dispatch, and our community, Barrington and Madbury, kind of work together. We've hired companies to look at overall radio communication in our area, and I have a map that I can show. Pretty much all of Lee is blue, which is bad. There's only small portions that are green that we actually have pretty good service. So anything, we have a lot of trouble at the traffic circle currently, and anything south in town, we have portable service. We've tried to work around that. We do have a channel called Direct. So the way portables work is usually when I talk on a portable, it goes from the portable all the way to UNH to a repeater, and then it bounces back out to the ambulance or the engine or whatever we're trying to talk to. Even though I can see it, the waves are gonna go all the way to Durham and then back. So with the Direct channel, we can actually talk portable to that truck that we're looking at, so that's helped out some. And then using truck radios versus the apparatus, or apparatus radios versus our portables helps as well because of the wattage, but this would give us a lot better coverage. We've had this company come in and do that map, so we know where we want the repeater, which will help out a ton.
Now, is this just your service, or is this police as well, or?
Just us.
Just you?
They're on Stratford, they're on a different,
And they don't have any problem in South Lee or at the Tractor Circle or anything? No? Chief? No? And you will change the number?
I will.
Whatever the right number will be. All right, more questions? So we have a lot of things to work on, and a lot of numbers to go over. Is there anything else we can work on this evening?
Can you ask the audience if they have any comments or concerns?
I
or
love that.
questions,
Come on up, Mr.
or-
Crowder.
They showed up for some reason.
I know, to see what kind of mischief we get into.
I'm John Tappan, I'm the author of the FPT and the data entry clerk. Given how long it's been since you've looked at it and with the number of changes, my own opinion is that an hour is not enough, that you're going to need more time to go through those things. Because some of them, the FPT is recommending a radically different number than what you have been considering. There's a few where it's recommending a lower number than what you have, but for the most part, it's recommending, it's calculating a number that is considerably higher. And if you're going to use the tool correctly, that would mean it's not just that you decide, oh, that number's too big, let's override it. It's that you actually decide, what do we change in what are we not going to buy, or what do we postpone for 5 or 10 years in order to make it work out to what you can afford.
I appreciate
So I'm available Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm available Monday anytime from 2 p.m. on or later.
I appreciate that. I'm wondering if it's possible for us to see a copy beforehand. I don't have very many more hours in a day. I literally start my day at 8 and
You
go
have the
till.
copy.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So if it's something we just have to go through and review and look at, I can do that in whatever free time I have. But I literally work till 5, so I can't come in earlier that day. I don't have any more evenings I can just easily share. So,
Mr. Chapman, can you, because this is an Excel spreadsheet, you can,
yeah, we can look at it anyway.
so can you send us the latest version?
Yeah.
Which is the same as the last version I sent to you? Yes. I can
Well,
send it
that-
to
well-
you again.
I think
I've looked at
you can
it.
send it to me as well. I can resend it to everybody.
Okay, I don't need to resend if it's the same one, I'm just saying,
It's
like,
the
I can go through it and look at it, and then if we have specific questions, we can highlight them and ask them. I think one of the things is like that right now we're asking for a bond for a building that was not necessarily, the numbers are different. So I think, again, also we had planned for dump trucks that we were gonna have to pay 100% of, and now we're only paying 20% of, so
Yes, so.
not everything has to be saved for,
That change in the highway equipment has not been made,
correct?
but I was planning to contact
Perfect.
Highway Department, the director, to find out what those costs are and which vehicles specifically are being replaced. So that certainly for Monday, that would be, change would be in the spreadsheet.
Yeah, and I think the rest of it we can
But
go through and
nothing else has
familiarize with.
changed.
Okay, we can familiarize ourselves, I think we've done it enough times, I think. And if we need more time, then that's something we can figure out at that point.
Well, you've got the hearing at 6 o'clock, so
Yeah.
if we meet from 5 till 6, break for the hearings, and then you can do financial plans plus any other business that Andy has afterwards, so.
That sounds great,
Yeah,
that sounds
because I
great.
think, I agree with Mr. Chapman, there's certain ones they're gonna be no-brainers, that you can just skip over, but there's gonna be a few that we're gonna have a discussion about.
Yeah, and I just don't know that January in the middle of budget season is the time for us to have a deep philosophical conversation about the future of the town and every building. So I think there's only so much we can do right now. And then there's some things we can look at that are, long-term. If we're not funding something, what's the plan and why is it still in there? That's a deep look, a deep dive for another day.
Andy, can you make sure we get the most up-to-date ARPA balance too for my?
Yep.
Thank you.
All right.
Any other comments?
Anything else from the public? Anyone have anything they want to say or point out or help us remember? Come on up.
In the budget presentation for the cemetery, I'd asked for a CIP for the fence for maintenance and stuff, and I didn't see it in anything here tonight.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
I did present it.
You did. We were
Yeah,
there.
but we were looking for a number.
I gave you one at 25.
Mhm.
We did?
Yes, I did.
Great,
Not
glad that
Yeah. Because it's a new fund. It would be a new.
It would be a brand-new fund. It was for maintenance and installation and repair of, to put a new fence around Clay Lane, and then to repair the two fences that we have at Garrity and Lee Hill.
Have you thought more about the idea of having, instead of individual plots, changing that formula? And is that something you'd want to put in a warrant article for this year, or is it something you need more time to talk about?
I'm still trying to figure out exactly how we do it, where we have trust funds already set up that are individual for each grave versus
Okay.
going forward.
So maybe we continue to work on that for the next year and then possibly make that a warrant article for next year?
Sounds good to me.
If that works, otherwise you can bring it to us sometime soon.
Yep.
Can I ask you another question? Last time I remember, you brought us a thought about taking over some abandoned cemeteries.
Yep.
Is there gonna be any cost associated with that here, or?
Just probably advertising, newspaper advertising and then the hearing. We haven't gone very far on that. Well, I was expecting a little bit of snow for the winter, so I went while I was ahead, and so far I've been wrong.
Yeah.
So,
Might get some on Saturday and Sunday, but we'll see.
doesn't have to, we can leave it.
Oh,
Here,
okay.
I'll find everyone likes to get some sleep.
But yeah, no, I assumed come spring we would address that.
So we will need a new warrant article to create a capital reserve fund. And how much is the total cost of defense stuff that are you looking for 25,000?
This
That's
year.
it, or 25,000 for multiple years, or?
Well, it's gonna be, you remember, I wanna say it was around 50,000, I thought, for the fence, the front fence at Lee Hill.
And Clay Lane was 25 because
Okay.
the Lee
Like
Hill
I said, I
one
don't
was not-
remember the numbers and I didn't,
The Lee Hill one's not chain link fence.
yeah,
So you may be looking for 25 for the 3 years?
3 or 4 years. And
Okay.
down the street, Garrity Road has got a bunch of granite posts that we need to replace. The water gets in there, freezes them, and splits them. And we've also got some bars that are bent, and at some point, we're also gonna probably have to paint them again. So
Okay.
I think if we have something like that for maintenance as well as repair and installation, I think we can cover that way.
Okay. Good.
It's in there now.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for bringing that up. Anyone else? All right. So then, I have wording for closing this hearing. So if we close this, the first budget public hearing, and move on to regular business. Great. First is our town administrator, miscellaneous.
Yeah, I have a couple of miscellaneous things that, one of which came up late, and one of which is related to the dump truck grant. First and foremost, on the dump truck grant, where's my paperwork on that? Which is officially titled the Granite State Clean Fleets Program Grant. I need the board to make a motion to designate one of its members as the signatory for project paperwork.
I move we make that Rebecca Hawthorne.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So
Oh,
moved. That was really easy.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Very good. I have a template to certify the vote of authorization by the select board. I will complete this tomorrow and leave it with Denise, and if you can stop in and put your signature on it, that would be good. And we also have to send a copy of the minutes from this meeting along as well.
Great.
Other miscellaneous things, there is a planned timber cut on the Maude Jones Tree Farm, that's Management Unit 1 and 2, the North and Middle units, coming up shortly. Don Quigley came to see me this afternoon, and the loggers would like to start tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
And the intent to cut has been taken care of, the UNH joint agreement has been taken care of, everything had been taken care of, but Don discovered that the timber sale agreement had not been signed. And this is basically the
Fix that quick.
outline for the loggers, the price that the town will receive for the lumber.
Okay. Can we
Right.
fix that now?
If you would make a motion to have, to sign the timber sale agreement, Don and the Conservation Commission would very much appreciate it. And there is room for one signature, so if you can authorize the chairwoman to sign it.
Could you have a comment?
Yes, I do, please. And on that note, so typically after the timber's cut, we get the report of wood to cut, I process the timber tax bill, and then you all sign it, and it goes to the town clerk, and the landowner gets the bill. I would like to request that you make a motion, instead of doing it at the end of the process, if you do it tonight, not to tax the town timber tax. That would be
To
helpful.
waive the levy.
Just to waive the timber tax on the,
Because we're taxing ourselves.
correct.
And
So
it's
usually you do
more
it,
paperwork.
right, so usually you do it after, but this is gonna help on the paperwork end, and the Rick Evans, the forester for this area, asked that you do it beforehand.
So I move that we sign the timber
The timber sale agreement.
sale agreement, I move that we make me the signatory, and I move that we waive the taxes,
The timber tax levy.
timber tax levy.
Second.
All in favor, or any discussion?
Nice job.
Quickly point out that Dawn met with me this afternoon, and I said, well, of course, I'll take that and bring it to the board. We're meeting tonight, and I was told by various other staff members that we never do that with regard to logging and timber cuts, and we
Got
tell
it.
them that we will get them on the agenda at the next possible meeting. So,
Okay. Are
It's
we
my fault.
risking anything by doing this? I'm guessing it's because it's warm and the weather is clear, and that's why this is happening, which makes me,
And they have to, so technically they need to have it all done by March 31st, because that's when their intent expires. Timber tax goes April 1st to March 31st,
and we're looking at no snow, no rain, so I guess I
and probably a break in the schedule.
They are actually hoping that it gets much colder and that there's a little bit of frost in the ground before they roll logging equipment, but I don't think that's likely.
And there's probably a break in his longer schedule, I would
Right.
assume, so.
So, knowing all that information, do we still want to go ahead? So all in favor? Aye. So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you. But in the future, going forward, now you know.
There is,
Damn wet. We're an exception for ourselves.
Well, you know what?
we did ask them to get, so. I don't think we're gonna want it because, yeah. We have a housekeeping item that did not make the consent agenda. And this is regarding the purchase of the skid steer for the transfer station. The motion to make that purchase did not specifically say that the funds were to come from the transfer station equipment capital reserve fund. That's important, as the select board are the sole agents to expend from that capital reserve fund, and we can't process the
The motion out there
statement.
in the right way?
Yep.
All right, I'm gonna try this again, you guys. Move to approve the Public Works Director in purchasing a Kubota SSV 75 skid steer from Chappelle Tractor in the amount not to exceed $60,900. Said funds to come from the Transfer Station Equipment Capital Reserve Fund.
Second, isn't that Chapel Tractor, not Chappelle?
Sure,
Roger would say it was Chapel.
Chapel.
But it's not Chappelle.
I'm just reading the best I can. Fabulous.
I think we need to go buy a tractor so you know.
I am dyslexic, so the letters do move around. No, I literally am, so I'm just trying to do the best I can. So, that being said, CHAPPELL, that is the number, the letters we're going to go with, and
Yeah,
that
second.
motion's out there. Any discussion?
Great committee.
Fabulous.
Some people say yes, some people say no.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes, so moved. It's not even that late, and we're all just. Yay.
I don't have a lot of other information to report. I would note that we've had an incident of mail fraud with the doctor's check. We're waiting to see whether Bank of America is going to make us whole on that, or whether I have to. We have insurance coverage for it as well, but we signed with the two banks. Excuse me.
So you could, what happened? You issued a check and they tweaked it and then they cashed it?
Someone stole a check, tweaked it.
Stole a check.
The authorities believe it actually was stolen, probably from the Manchester Central Processing Facility. There's been some ongoing problem there. They did a marvelous job of doctoring the check, changed it from the Epping Auto Parts, car parts of Epping to Kilo something, 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 who
Wow.
cashed the check in East Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
So on the local level, we have had some other problem with mail being stolen, and I did, thanks to Peter Hoyt, get the new secure mailbox that locks on both ends and
Oh, great.
is tough to get into installed this week, so hopefully that will help us locally.
Fabulous. Another reason to move our town municipal building into town.
Right, they'll have to steal the whole mailbox now as opposed to
125.
just taking the mail.
I appreciate that.
So how much are we out?
The initial hit was $6,000, a little over $6,000. They had changed the invoice was for like
No, it was
$590.
$133 and they put a 6
And
in
they
front of
put,
it.
yeah, whatever it was, it was a few $100.
Wow.
They put a 6 in front of it and changed the name.
And they changed the legal line too? Whoa, that's pretty
And
good.
it all matched very well.
So is that a federal thing?
Where they whited it down.
Oh.
So that Ben's signature was missing part of his blue skin.
Ooh, look at her sleuth over here.
Is this a federal crime, I assume?
Strangely enough, the police chief followed up with the East Providence Police Department, and their take on it was, if the bank makes you whole or the insurance company makes you whole, we have no interest in chasing it.
Oh, my goodness.
What
And
about
we
the
were-
next person who doesn't get made whole?
We were able to find, I tracked down the kid that cashed the check pretty quickly. He's a college student who lives in Rhode Island, so I have his phone number. Denise was gonna call him and see if he wanted to consider bringing the
Can
funds
we
back.
send Frenchie down there and arrest him? or-
All right. Great, thanks.
Well, thank you for following that up, so.
Big detail.
Well, we won't be out the funds either way, but.
All right. Do we have anything more to discuss on miscellaneous, or should we go on to the consent agenda? Yes, okay. I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I cleared a house real quick, huh? It's just the one, huh?
Going back to your noble seat.
Well, I figured it was sorry about it, but there's only one.
All right. We have nothing from old business that we're discussing, is that correct? Do we have any new business? No? Do we need to go into? Oh, yeah?
Where's my paycheck?
Oh, dear.
That's the second quarter in a row, and I'm not very happy about it.
Okay.
So, not that I need the money, but something's wrong in the payroll department if that's happening now twice.
Okay, I will track down your paycheck tomorrow morning.
Well, unless you ladies get yours.
I can look, I can look.
I assume everybody else got theirs? I assume.
I don't know what day it
know.
comes on, so I just am happy when it comes. I say yay.
So, the treasurer is one of them. I don't know who else gets quarterly payments, but
You know,
it's not good.
the treasurer and the select board.
So,
The treasurer would probably nip it in the bud.
It's paid. It's broken out.
Oh, that's right, the treasurer is broken out more often, he's not quarterly.
so something's wrong with the system. So it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't know
know.
what it is, but
I don't have any direct deposit, but is it possible that when we didn't refill out the direct
It's
deposit?
possible, I'm thinking that the
That's what
cause of
happened.
this is they were issued as paper checks, but.
Yeah.
well then, where's the paper check?
Yeah.
It should have come last week.
I will track them down.
So all my children will not be having any food until you give me that check and, no, I'm just kidding. But it needs to be fixed.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Do we have a non-public to go to, or are we good?
I had no
Dismissed.
requests
Fabulous.
beyond you individuals.
I move that we, do you have anything else? No, I move that we adjourn this lovely meeting.
Second.
All in favor? I'm so moved. Not that you get ready today. Way more than the other end, though. I'm dreading.
This meeting tomorrow, and we are going to seal. Yes.
What I'm so kind of morning free now.
Yeah, that's a lot.
There, you can create
We did a lot of stuff.
a
We changed the questionnaire last meeting. We changed that.
Because nobody was there to say,
Well, some of
those
that's
words
in
back.
my budget.
No, some good progress was made. We've got some dates. We moved the event back.
Oh, will you send me, or I guess we'll get the minutes out?
Yes.
Combine the two.